Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Real Talks. I'm your host, David Steele, along with Kyle. How we doing, Kyle?
Great to be here, David. A lot of big numbers coming in. Today we're going to get right to it.
Yeah. No, this is first and foremost, if you like what you're seeing, and I know a ton of you guys have been, and you're dropping me comments, keep them coming. Let's get that like spike going for this one, too. So today's video is just purely going to be about Avatar and how big of a phenomenon this is. So this is going to cross $1 billion either late tonight or tomorrow. This is one of the fastest grossing films of all time. I was talking with people with comments. They were telling me they were going back to see 2, 3, and 4 times, Kyle.
Oh, wow.
I had somebody I was communicating with telling me that they went to see it, and they're going to take their mother to go see it on the 3rd of January. And so it's phenomenal. And they're going to be sitting back in a nice recliner and everything else. This is, when we talk about films that have really changed things, we talk about, Avatar did it in 2009. You got Titanic. I don't think, and I said this before, I think James Cameron is one of the most underrated directors out there. He really is.
What's also interesting is that I don't know if you've been looking on Twitter in terms of I saw one tweet showing all the people that doubted James Cameron and all the people that doubted Avatar, The Way of Water, making money. They're like, oh, it's not going to be that big. Oh, it's going to be very disappointing. Even the stock, for Disney stock, they had, Disney itself seemed, disappointed in the result in a way. And then all of a sudden, it's like, this is the thing about Avatar. It builds, and more people go back to see it. And it's kind of like a bit of an opposite reaction to kind of what we've seen with the MCU this year, where I think a movie like, say, Thor: Love and Thunder, it's, I think, it might be in the top 10 or so highest grossing films of the year, but it's a movie that
it's actually number 8, to your point.
Number 8. So it's not really a movie that I think a lot of people went back to see, like, say, even an Avengers Endgame. And in the case of this is a movie that people are going back to see it. 1, because it's a great movie, and 2, because it's such a great experience. And that's something that we haven't really seen a lot in the last number of months outside of Top Gun Maverick.
Well, and that was a great segue. Thank you. This is just going to show you something. Okay, this film has been out 12 days. This has made $955 million.
Yeah.
660 of it overseas. Okay, and this is made almost $300 million domestic in 12 days, guys. There are only 2 other films to make $1 billion: Top Gun Maverick and Jurassic World Dominion.
Yes.
And it's going to crush both of them. This has a shot, and you brought up the point the other day. This is a shot legitimately $2 billion. You brought up the point the other day of something very interesting. And we haven't seen this in a while, rewatchability, but moreover than that, here's the thing. There isn't anything coming out until mid-February. This is a shot to basically run the table until mid-February. It made $64 million last week, Kyle. $64 million. And that's a 56% drop. If this drops again by 50%, you're looking at $32 million. This is going to cross. I'm just blown away by this. When was the last? Do you remember the last time you saw something like this besides Top Gun Maverick?
Spider-Man: No Way Home, I think, had a.
Well, yeah, and that's an interesting, great
That's
segue too,
probably,
because
before that though, I think, well, I guess you could say, was it Shang-Chi? But like, this is, 2022 is going to be a record-breaking year when you look at going back, because Top Gun Maverick, even Jurassic World and this Avatar are not like superhero films. They are, they're all sequels, but Top Gun Maverick isn't really, it's not science fiction, it's just, an average drama. And the other two, especially when it comes to Avatar, Avatar really is the definition of escapism, and that is when you get to see in this movie what it's like to be transported to another planet or another world. But I don't know, it's going to be really interesting to see going into 2023 what movie can even get to that, because right now we are just blowing past records. And I think what this also tells me is Disney, 20th Century Studios, Lightstorm Entertainment, they are a go-ahead on Avatar 4 and 5.
Mhm.
We're going to get all 5 Avatar movies.
And I'll tell you something else. Yeah. If this is doing $1 billion in 12 days, 13 days, we'll call it, can you imagine what Avatar 3 and Avatar 4 and Avatar 5 are going to do?
Yeah.
They're going to have to print money for this, Kyle.
Yeah.
They're going to have to print money for this.
I will say, I do wonder, because when it comes to Avatar, one of the elements of this movie that I think is making it really do well is that it's been so long since we've seen an Avatar movie. The big question is when Avatar 3 comes out, because will the audience be as excited for it? And I think it all depends on the films, because if you look, I'm comparing it to what happened with the Star Wars sequel trilogy. And you had The Force Awakens, record-breaking numbers. The Last Jedi, record-breaking numbers, because The Last Jedi was following in the heels of The Force Awakens. But then when we got to The Rise of Skywalker, it all started to crumble. And I think here...
Excuse me. I think to that point, though, I think the fact that you didn't have a set director for you had... By the way, whatever you think of The Last Jedi, it's a good quality film, okay? But one of the major things about that, okay, and I always said this, that had they kept J.J. Abrams on to write and direct The Last Jedi, it would have been a completely different film, and I think it would have been more cohesive. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying Rian Johnson did a bad job. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is that one thing that film goers love is continuity and consistency. Yeah. When you take a look at some of the best directors and some of the best actors and writers and everything else, the fact is that when you have continuity and consistency, people like that.
And that's what James Cameron is right now, because when we have all these Avatar movies coming out, they are all going to be, written by James Cameron. This is his story. And to add to your consistency point, we're seeing the consistency with Avatar 1 and Avatar 2, and now it just gives us more hope for Avatar 3, 4, 5, and that's why I think this is going to be what Disney wished, their Star Wars movies could be, because they will have, a plan, and they also have a set of release dates that don't feel too... It's not like they're making an Avatar movie every year. They still have the every 2 years, and I think that will also work in their favor. It's just going to be interesting to see what happens when you get an Avatar movie that's released 2 years after the last one instead of 13.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
I
wonderful
think
news.
people are just gonna. I think people are chomping at the bit.
Yeah,
I mean, if you just see these numbers
yeah,
and you hear the reaction of people going back to see it 2, 3, and 4 times, it, the only thing, I mean, rewatchability, I think is the one word we can both agree
yeah.
on. That you can go back and see. I mean, you've seen it twice. I want to go back and see it again myself. There are people out there who are going to go see it 3 and 4 and 5 times. The only thing I can think of would be a Top Gun Maverick, and before that, an Endgame.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I saw Endgame 3 times in theaters. I've seen it twice outside of theaters. And, you know.
And what
So,
also to point out, though, is that with an Endgame, that was also a 3-hour film. And I think the runtime does have a factor when it comes to movies like, say, Babylon, for instance. But I think runtimes, when it comes to a movie that's really good, it shows, like, this film, Avatar: The Way of Water, it's a huge deal that people are going back to see a 3-hour film that isn't like the end of a saga. It's not like the end, because like Endgame was the end. This is just a sequel, and I think that it shows you the power of how great the film actually is, and that is the best thing in the world. So, yeah,
I'm. This is just blowing away records, and it's only going to get bigger and better, not only for the films, but week by week by week by week. So, what do you guys think about this? Obviously, I mean, you guys are going back to see this. Do me a favor. Tell me why in the comment section. Tell me why you're going back to see it. Okay, I had a couple comments saying it was a family-oriented film. I mean, so we stick together, which is definitely part of it. Was it the effects? Was it the story? Was it the villain? Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, because I'm really curious about that. Yeah, guys, this is an amazing feat. So I'm going to keep this brief. We have the roundup coming up this week. We're actually, as soon as we're done here, we're going to be recording our top 5 most anticipated movies for 2023. Look out for that. Yeah, if you guys want more of this, keep it coming. Like, subscribe, comment. I'm getting back to everybody. And this is just, we've got so much stuff for 2023, including starting with The Last of Us. Okay, as I said, I'm going to keep this brief. By the way, before we do go, tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter, Kyle.
You can find me at Arking Kyle. That's capital ARKING, capital KYLE.
Perfect. And I'm on Twitter myself, and that's going to be Wannabe Rounder. That's WANNABEROUNDER. I'll leave the little graphic down there for you guys, and it will be in the description. And, okay, take care of yourself. Have a great day. And we'll catch you on the flip side. For Kyle, I'm David, and this has been Real Talks.